spotlight video. It won't be all this stuff up here. And also too, when I get ready to bring you on board, I'll just say, Robert Anderson's with us today, and let me cut Robert's camera on and unmute his mic, and welcome to the show. And he's going to be speaking to us about how getting control of your data stops COVID-19. And I'll say, Robert, the stage is yours after I say a few words, and then I want you to remain quiet. Same with Truth, you Ron. I'll cut off my video like that, and I'll also mute my mic like this. That way, when you're quiet, there's a clip in time there where we can come in and just start fresh with your presentation only, without me being there, okay? And at the very end, you're going to have 15 minutes before I give you the 3-minute signal. Does everybody see the chat box?
Let me widen mine a little.
It looks like a little message at the bottom.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, I will type in at your 15-minute mark, I'll type in 3 minutes, okay? Then I'll do 2 minutes, and then 1 minute. Do you see the 3 minutes?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, do see that. So
okay.
Let me ask you real quick. I worked this out, and my presentation is going to be somewhere in the vicinity of probably 15.5 to 16.5 minutes. And
that's cool. That's cool. The reason why we do this for 15 minutes and give you a 3-minute warning is to make sure no one goes over the 18-minute mark that we've allotted. That way we can get all three speakers in 1 hour. Okay?
Perfect.
And today it's particularly important because I've got another meeting on Zoom using this account at 11, so we can't go over. So Jim, you just got to end it.
Oh yeah, don't worry about that.
Mine's probably going to be a little shorter.
Okay, that's cool.
Perfect.
But anyway, your cue to me to cut on my video and unmute my mic and come back is just say, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. However you want to close it. Just appreciate you being here. Thank you for letting me, and then remain quiet for a couple of seconds or a second, and I'll click on, they give me time. It's going to take me a couple of seconds anyway to click on the video, unmute my mic, and all those good things, okay? And that's the way we'll wrap it up. And for your particular presentation, that way we got a clean entry, a clean exit of just your presentation. We can snapshot that and put it on the messages of inspiration, hope, and support. And therefore, you can use that video for your own promotion, whatever,
Have you guys seen what we're doing? We're actually taking the individual videos and like editing them out and providing them back to you. So they're on YouTube, they're on our website, and we'll when we post, we'll let you know.
Yeah, I'll show you that in the very intro, how that's done. And I'll brag on us how great we are, so you'll know how.
Well, we'll brag on you too. Don't worry about that.
Oh, that's mighty Christian of you. How much you charge for that, Ron?
The clock is running right now.
Yeah, wait till you get the invoice.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Comes via PayPal.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
All right,
I don't know if Molly's going to join us.
We're all set up recording, we're broadcasting, we're all set to live stream at the top of the hour. So I'm going to go lurk on Facebook, and you guys knock it out of the park. Have fun.
Okay.
Give some great energy and support. Looks like Molly's here.
Molly.
Awesome.
Okay. Molly, very quickly, I'm glad you showed up. Turn on your chat box there. Do you see your chat box?
No.
It's a little message sign at the bottom. If you're on your, are you on your phone?
I'm on my iPhone. I was having some Wi-Fi trouble.
Okay. Let me put in something here. Let me say hello, Molly. Like that. Do you see the message pop up?
Hello.
Anywhere?
Yes, I see it.
Okay. All right. When you're doing your presentation, okay, there's a couple of things I want you to know. When I introduce you, and you're going to go first, okay? When I introduce you, bring you on board, and I'll say, Molly, the stage is yours. You remain quiet because I'm going to cut off my video like this, and I'll mute my mic like this. That's your cue to start talking, because that way we got a clean entryway when we edit the videos, okay? Because we're going to put them on YouTube, we're going to put it on our website and all that. Now when you got 18 minutes total. So at the 15-minute mark, I'll do something like this. I'll say, Molly, 3 minutes.
Hmm.
I'll put that in the chat box like that. That is your cue card. You got 3 minutes to wrap everything up.
Uh-huh.
And I'll give you a 2 minute and a 1 minute. And if you start going over, you'll see my video go from like this to like that. And that's the hook. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see. Of course, the only person speaking will be on the spotlight video. Their microphone will be live. Everyone else with their video will be off and everything will be muted. And I will take care of that. So don't worry about that. Okay.
Okay.
And we're about 6 minutes from going live. So,
Thank you,
Well,
6.
pardon me? Yeah, it's 10:54 right now. As soon as it turned to 10:55, we're 5 minutes now. As soon as we, get close to 58 minutes, I'm gonna go ahead and cut everybody's video off and mute everybody. And I'll go ahead and open the show, and I'll take us on a quick little, about a 2-minute tour of Speaker's Pathway. I'll show you where your videos will be individually. And it's going to be a YouTube link, so you can use those and that sort of thing. And also use it for any type of promotion that you want to. You can probably say that you're only messages of inspiration, hope, and support. And we're starting to get some good recognition because we've got people that's wanting to. We're going to be doing some things with TogiNet Radio. They want to be part of what we're doing because we got a show there. And there's other people who have expressed interest in wanting to do what we're doing, wanting to be attached to us, hey, well, they want to help promote the messages of inspiration, hope, and support to get good messages out to people during this time. So evidently we're doing it right. So where's everyone from right quick? I know that I'm from Texas. We covered that. Robert, how about you?
Yeah, I live in Phoenix, but currently I'm in Utah at the moment.
Oh, okay. All right.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
I'm currently in South Florida, Jim. As I was telling you, I grew up in Texas, spent 25 years in Orlando, and back here in South Florida for a bit.
Good deal. How about you, Molly?
Yeah, I'm in Seattle.
Seattle, Washington, huh?
Yep.
Oh, Molly, you're going to be talking to us about what I learned about my financial mistakes through sobriety. Is that correct?
Oh, yes, but actually, could you please replace financial mistakes with financial lessons?
Okay, sure. That's why I like to ask before I introduce you. So that's what was printed on the thing there. Oh, Rita, we're about 3 minutes out. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to mute because we're streaming live right now on Facebook on our Facebook page, Speakers Pathway Coalition. So I'll bring you back on at the proper time. And when I kick that video back on, you'll see a request to turn the video on. And okay, Molly, we'll talk to you soon. Here I am. Folks, if you're tuning in and listening to us live on Facebook, we'll go live at 11 o'clock right at the top of the hour because we're broadcasting and streaming live on other channels too. So they do not kick on till 11 o'clock. So we've got about 2 minutes to go. So that's why I'm sitting here just waiting for the correct time to start. And also, thank you so much for joining in. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show. This is another edition of our webinar series, Messages of Inspiration, Hope, and Support. It is proudly sponsored by speakerspathway.com. Is it okay if I share my screen with you and show you a few things at speakerspathway.com, including some free and complimentary gifts? Let's take a quick look at that, please. This is our homepage at speakerspathway.com. As you can see, we have complimentary gifts. We got TEDx training over here. And if you go further down, messages of inspiration, hope, and support. We'll take a closer look at that in just a moment. How to grow your business through speaking. This is Dandy Don offering a free complimentary course. And this is what we do and how we do it. We're webinar people and we're virtual. This is our virtual stage. This is our crew. And we're also on some of our testimonies from some of our members, some of the things they get, and also we're on Your Future Is Now. But let me get back up here to the top and let's get some free gifts going here. Here is 5 simple steps to a kick butt TED Talk. This is Dandy Don McGrath, the co-founder. Me and him, we founded Speakers Pathway. Don is a speaking geek. And let me tell you something, he's a dandy guy, and be sure, and if you know someone that could use that, get it because it's free. Also, too, how to grow your business through speaking. That's very, very critical. I mentioned about our radio show, Your Future Is Now. This is our podcast here. We're on podcasts. We're on TogiNet. You can see all of our shows there. We've done a bunch of them, you might say. Our complimentary gifts, each one of our executive training directors offers free complimentary gifts. You can download anything like there, like Dr. Soni Jackson. She talks about a content checklist for converting strangers to clients. Tamara Hunter, she has the journal for cancer sufferers and other diseases because she's a cancer survivor. How you get through it, how to do it day by day. Dustin Matthews, how to get out of debt, boost your active income. And Preston Martelli, how to get his 90 action steps to your next level about your brand and how to have a great brand. Also, too, the messages of inspiration and hope, they're all here. And we have each individual speaker here. And I don't know what happened to Rhonda's picture. You can click on that, and I did, and it comes up. And don't pay any attention to these guys here. That's Bill Heinrich, one of our executive training directors, Don McGrath, Robert W. Jones with Network Together out in Phoenix, Arizona. And I don't know who this guy is. But this is Rhonda's presentation here. Also, too, each one of our speakers, we have a write-up on them. So you can listen to their message here. It's also available on YouTube. And today we've got 3 great speakers with us today. And first of all, let me welcome to the show, Molly Osborne. Let me cut your video on first, Molly, and unmute you and welcome you to the show. There she is. Let me make you the spotlight since you're a lot better looking than I am. How are you today, Molly?
Good, and you?
Fine, fine. Thank you so much and welcome to the show. Ladies and gentlemen, Molly's going to be talking to us today about what she learned about her financial lessons through sobriety. So Molly, the stage is yours. Let me cut my video off and we'd love to hear your message. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Don. Thank you for this wonderful opportunity. My name is Molly, and today I am going to be sharing with you my story of hope and sobriety and mental health and how it has paved the way for forgiveness and healing around my anxiety and shame about one of our favorite subjects, and that is money. And more specifically, I'm going to be telling my story about how I've spent the better part of a 6-figure inheritance and 8 years of my life creating revolutionary work that I designed for parents and teachers, but that came across as a watered down version of another academic program for kids. And I completely own that miscommunication because at the time I lacked clarity and confidence. And so now I invite you on my journey towards reclaiming my clarity and confidence and my message for empowering women. So for those of you who know me, either in real life or on social media, you probably know me as Molly the Math Rebel. And I bet I know what some of you are thinking. Oh, no. Is she going to make us do the Pythagorean theorem? Well, you can all relax, because in the next 10 to 15 minutes, there will be no calculations, no equations, no formulas, and no theorems. And that's probably very good news for you, because I bet most of you have not seen the Pythagorean theorem since high school, or possibly college. So while you might not remember the Pythagorean theorem, and that's perfectly okay, you probably remember how the Pythagorean theorem made you feel. And unfortunately, for many in the audience, and especially for women, it probably made you feel not so good, which is why you're probably tempted to tune me out. But please listen to my message. And let me just say, as a disclaimer, when I was a child and a teenager, I never struggled in math. It was quite the opposite, in fact, because even at my old elementary school, even years later, the teachers and secretary who are still there are still telling the story about how I taught myself fractions when I was in kindergarten. So some of you might be a little intimidated by me, but throughout my childhood and adolescence, when I was growing up, I was overweight, socially awkward, and struggled with mental health issues. And so the way that I used to feel about all of the above is probably very similar to the way that many of you have felt about math. So when I would get waited at a doctor's office, or when I would get bullied at summer camp, it's probably very similar to feelings to when your teachers would make you solve a problem at the board, or when your parents would yell at you about your report card. Feelings of being ashamed, defective, frustrated, overwhelmed, misunderstood, confused, and alone. In other words, not good feelings. But I'm here to tell you today that you are not alone, because negative feelings about math are very common, especially among girls and women. And in young girls, they can start as early as age 7. And the reason that these feelings are more common in girls and women is not because girls and women have less aptitude in math or science or finances, but because of social conditioning. And unfortunately, that social conditioning is often passed down through the generations, from parents and teachers and grandparents to the next generation. And so my message is about becoming aware of those social stereotypes and these emotional effects so that they don't affect the next generation. Because unfortunately, the way it is now, most people see math as a very logical, very linear, very rational, very rigid subject with a right way and a wrong way, with little to no room for emotions. And that is a mistake. And here is why. Because I have been a math teacher and a math tutor on and off since 2006, and I've worked with both mainstream and special needs populations. And what I have found is that math can be a highly emotional subject that brings up a lot of deep emotions. And unfortunately, when these emotions are not acknowledged, then they can backfire and they can become worse. Just about 6 months ago, I was paid a very respectable compliment, and I was called the Brene Brown of math shame. So for those of you who don't know, Brene Brown is a leading expert and global authority on shame, vulnerability, courage, and leadership, all concepts which I wish to infuse into my message about both math and money for all generations. And more recently, Brene Brown has called our recent pandemic a collective experience in collective vulnerability. And let me just say that according to Brene Brown, vulnerability is not a sign of weakness. As a matter of fact, it's exactly the opposite. Because showing your vulnerability takes courage, and that can be a role model for others in expressing their own vulnerability so that then we can heal it on a global level. And the same thing is true for both math and money. But I wasn't always the Brene Brown of math shame. Up until about 18 months ago, whenever somebody would ask the dreaded question, "What do you do for a living?" I would give a generic response. "Oh, I'm a math anxiety specialist." "Oh, I'm a math tutor." "Oh, I wrote a book about math anxiety." And then I would say that better than 50% of women and an occasional man would all give some variation of the same common response. I wish you would have been around when I was young, and I completely get it. Just like I wish that I would have had a different experience with Weight Watchers and summer camp when I was growing up. A lot of people wish that they would have had a different experience with math when they were growing up. But unfortunately, those negative feelings can affect them for a lifetime and it can affect their careers and their families and their finances. And that is why, as ironic as it may sound, the adults who wish they would have had me when they were younger are the ones who need to hear my message today. And that is especially true if they are parents or grandparents or teachers, because they are responsible for setting the tone for the next generation and breaking the cycle of the feelings of math anxiety and math shame. But once again, up until about 18 months ago, I didn't have the clarity or confidence or courage to state that. And so when someone would say that they wish they would have had me when they were younger, I would just smile, and then I would grow more and more frustrated that my message wasn't reaching the masses, and that my message was watered down, and that I would just blend in as yet another math teacher or tutor, and that I would lose my opportunity to speak my revolutionary message. And so often I found myself reaching for a glass of wine to soothe the frustration, either that or a binge of sweets or a Netflix binge. But then I realized it was becoming a pattern, because just to back up a bit, I published my first book in September of 2018, and the title is Beyond Math Anxiety, 99 Insights, and a Calculation's Not One. And it talks a lot about shame and vulnerability and courage and the emotional aspects of math anxiety. But once again, back then, I didn't have the courage or the confidence or the clarity to state my message clearly. And so then it got lost in the shuffle, and I would get more and more frustrated. And then the cycle would continue. So then in January of 2019, I committed to Dry January. So for those of you who don't know, Dry January is a social movement. So basically it's asking you to commit to abstaining from alcohol or any other vice for the duration of January. And that's not to be confused with a New Year's resolution. So I said, okay, I'm gonna do it. No alcohol for all of January. So then when the 30 days were up, for those of you who live in Oregon and Washington, you'll recall that the beginning of February of last year was right around when we had that big snowstorm. So I was snowed in. So then I decided, okay, I'll extend it a few more weeks. And during that time, I did a lot of journaling, meditation, and reflection. And I realized that I wasn't going to achieve business or career success, or writing success, or public speaking success if I was always drowning my frustration with a glass of wine. And so 1 month turned into the opportunity of a lifetime. And so from there, I gained courage, clarity, confidence, and not only that, but I also gained a new avenue for my message. And that is, instead of just focusing on anxiety and shame about math, also expanding to anxiety and shame about money. Because remember, in my childhood, I never struggled in school math, but I absorbed a lot of toxic and patriarchal values about money, which unfortunately I carried with me into my adulthood, which showed through in my decisions about spending my inheritance and not owning my self-worth. So blocking myself from monetizing my mission and vision. And so my financial mistakes, which maybe I'll reframe that as financial lessons, because one of the things I learned is that there's no such thing as a mistake, only a lesson. And so my financial lessons have blossomed into expanding my message to include anxiety and shame around money and not just math, especially for women. Because as one of my old mentors says, you teach what you need to learn. And that is too true, especially in terms of my lessons about money and how they've affected me, and also owning my power and taking a stand against the patriarchy. And so my last bit of information is a little insight that I coined over the past year, and it is 3 words. So I call it the 3 S words. So don't worry, it's all clean. So 3 words that start with S that women tend to use a lot, but unfortunately, these 3 words tend to disempower women. And so I've reframed the 3 S words so that we can be empowered and so that women can have clarity and confidence in the world. So the 3 S words are should, sorry, and someday. Once again, that's should, sorry, and someday. So first of all, I'm reframing should with could. So that was just an example. That was just an example when I being awkward with my phone. So to back up a bit, I was having trouble with my Wi-Fi on my laptop. So I had to improvise at the last minute with my phone. But if I was still in the cycle of should, I was saying, oh, I should have checked my Wi-Fi. Oh, I should have put my phone on a stand, blah, blah, blah. So really, if you think about it, should, it implies a sense of social obligation, which unfortunately, a lot of women have a sense of social obligation due to the patriarchy. So it's like, oh, I should take this job. Oh, I should go to this party. Oh, I should do blah, blah, blah. So really, that's a lot of social obligation. And so the way that I reframe should is with could, because could implies a sense of possibility, or better yet, go stronger and go to intend or commit. And an intention or a commitment, it comes from within you and not from societal shoulds. So once again, reframe should with could, or better yet, intend or commit. And a good example is my sobriety. So it's like, instead of saying, oh, I should stop drinking, or, oh, I should cut back, I'm saying, okay, well, I could do dry January. And then at the end of dry January, I was saying, at the end of dry January, I said, okay, so I commit to being alcohol free. And so the second S word is sorry. So often women are very apologetic. So I replace sorry with thank you, with one caveat. And that is, if you're truly sorry about something, so if you truly need to apologize, or if you truly need to make amends, then definitely use sorry. But for many cases, especially with women, being unapologetic is replacing sorry with thank you. So for example, instead of saying, oh, sorry, I'm late, say, thank you for your patience. And last but not least, the third S word is someday. And someday implies procrastination. So I invite you to replace someday with today, even if you can't achieve your big scary goal today. So like, for example, if you want to write a book, instead of saying, oh, well, someday I'll write a book, say, today I will write 1 page. And today, so a good current example of today would be, like, a lot of people might want to travel, but nobody's doing any traveling lately. So if you want to travel someday, maybe research travel destinations on the internet today. So ladies and gentlemen, hope this helps you. And once again, I'm Molly the Math Rebel. And in closing, somebody once asked, well, what are you rebelling against? And that's time I gave a long-winded answer, but for now, I've got it. I am rebelling against math shame and money shame. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Molly. You cut your video off and all that, so that's okay. But just cut your video back on if you would, and unmute your mic. I want to visit with just a second. I just wanted to say a lot of people can relate to what you're saying there. I was a heavy drinker, a beer drinker, and back in the 70s, and I'm not proud of that, obviously, but I was drinking a couple 6-packs a night and that sort of thing. But I made a commitment because I didn't like myself. I quit drinking like that January the 1st, 1981. Now, occasionally I'll have some wine or something like that, but that's rare. I mean, you can probably count it on one hand how many times I have a glass of wine during a year. But my point being, a lot of people can relate to that. Also, the fact I really appreciate the fact that you talked about clarity in the mind. That is the first thing a person has to have when they start out on a mission, is clarity in their mind. And one of our executive training directors, Bill Heinrich at speakerspathway.com, he is a master in that. Because when someone comes to us, when they want to be involved with Speakers Pathway, it's okay, what is it that you want to do? And we got to get that clarity first, because if not, we can't help them, and we don't want them to take advantage of them or take their money, I should say, because if we can help somebody, we'll tell them that. But your message is very powerful. A lot of ladies can relate to that, because a lot of people are intimidated by math and things of that nature. And I appreciate that. And fortunately in school, math was pretty good. Now, English, we're not going to talk about that, okay? At least I don't want to. But I want to thank you today for being with us in a powerful message. And thank you so much for getting up early there on the West Coast and being with us. And I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you,
Thank
Molly.
you.
Bye-bye. And next, let me bring to the stage here. Let's see here. I got to bring a young man to the stage by the name of Robert Anderson. Let me open up Robert's video here, invite him to the show. And since he's let's see, there he is. Hey, Robert, how you doing, sir?
Doing fantastic, Jim. How are you?
Doing good, man. I'm gonna give you the spotlight because you're a more handsome young fellow than I am, since I'm an old boy. But you're going to be talking to us today about how, listen to this, folks, how getting control of your data stops COVID-19. Now, that's something I've got to hear. And Robert, let me shut off my video and mute my mic. The stage is yours.
Thank you, Jim. I'm going to get right to it. So I start off with a story. So standing on the curb in front of a Las Vegas casino is Elizabeth Suarez. She's awaiting her Uber driver, like many of you and I have done before. And when that black SUV pulls up, it matches the description on her app. And when the driver waves her over and says, come over, Elizabeth asks, "You here for Liz?" He replies, "Yes, I am." So she hops in and off they go. But the next thing that she knows is that she's waking up in a hospital with a beat up body and a cast on her leg after having jumped out of a moving car. It was that car that was a fake Uber driver that kidnapped her. Now, my question is, how was she supposed to know if that driver was legitimate? So we face identity-related problems just like that. How do you know legitimately if the driver is who they claim to be and they are your actual Uber or Lyft driver? But also we face so many identity-related problems that we don't even realize them. And that's where I want to get into the coronavirus. You've probably not even thought about this, but you probably have heard about how Apple and Google are creating a contact tracer to stop the spread of coronavirus. Now, what that means is, simply put, is they need to know, professionals need to know where the coronavirus is spreading, how it spreads, so that they can stop it from spreading. Now, what Apple and Google are doing is they're creating a Bluetooth-based technology to trace where the coronavirus is. But the reason they're using Bluetooth is because they're trying to solve one huge problem, and that is to protect your privacy. Because the number one problem with contact tracing, of just tracing any infectious disease, is how do you not infringe on people's privacy, and how do you, ensure their security? In other words, I'm tying this back to authentication and identity and legitimacy, because how can you protect your information when other people have access to it that you have no control over? So as examples, right now, when you go take a coronavirus assessment, oftentimes they require that you, fill out forms and create usernames and passwords and divulge all of your information. And they tell you how much information to provide and what to provide. And when you go to a doctor's office, they tell you what information you have to provide to identify yourself. And then when you go get a prescription for a coronavirus, they tell you how you have to pay for it, how you get a receipt, how you can get coupons, how you use loyalty cards, anything that has to do with that transaction. Other people tell you. That's the point, is right now, other people tell you how you have to use your identity and your data. And that's the exact same thing that is going on with Google right now, and Apple. They're creating an app for you, and they tell you how much information you have to provide. But the good thing is, and this is not knocking on Apple and Google, they're doing a fantastic thing, is you don't have control over what information is provided, but luckily they're doing it in a way that protects your privacy and your security. So back to my point of, wherever you go, other people are in complete control over your data and how you verify your identity. Now, that is exactly why I created Grape ID, is to solve the privacy problem, to solve the inability to have control over your own data. That's why I created a company called Grape ID. And what it does is, it's an app that puts you in complete control of your own identity and your data. And you may ask, Well, how do you have complete control over your identity when other people have your data? Like, how do you even control that? Well, there are two steps to control. First is there has to be transparency. You have to know what data is being given to who, for how long, why, and all of those specific details. The second is that you have to have a rock solid way to prevent people from pretending to be you. Otherwise, they'll access your data and give it to anyone for who knows how many different reasons that are usually not in your favor. So the two reasons: you have to have transparency and a unique way to stop people from accessing your data. That's what Grape ID provides. Is when, for example, you grab an Uber, if you connect Uber, because we partner with companies like Uber and hospitals and any business that you do business with, when you grab an Uber or you go to a hospital, you just present your Grape ID app, and then they get your identity information. But first, before they get that, it asks you and gives you the ability to authorize them having access to your data. And second, they are unable to get continued access unless they pass through an up to 20 layers of identity authentication. Now, here's a side note: is if someone's going to steal your identity, how would they do it right now? Let's pick, if I was a criminal, I would pick your email. All I have to do is know one simple password to hack your email account. If you think about it, that's crazy that all it takes is hacking one password, and you get access, and a hacker can get access to your email account. And then by resetting passwords to all other accounts all over the internet, they're able to get access to all of your other accounts. And all it takes is accessing and hacking one password to your email. So the point is, there's only one layer of verification right there. It's a password. And for you lucky souls who use two factors, you're adding 2 layers. That's great. Grape ID adds up to 20 layers of multi-factor authentication, but I'm not going to get into all the technical. Just know that having the transparency so that you know who's accessing your data, and having a way up to 20 layers of authentication to prevent other people from accessing your data, those two things combined are what prevent people from against your will to use your data and your identity. Those two things, transparency and 20 layers of authentication, are what give you complete control, because no one else can use your data unless they pass through those two roadblocks. So I believe personally that having complete control of your identity is a basic human right. Just like we have control over our house, we get to control who goes into our house, who sleeps on our bed, who can take our property. It's a constitutional right. I believe it's also a right to have complete control over our digital assets, our digital property, our identity, credentials, and our data. So because, again, we partner with companies like Uber and hospitals, if Elizabeth had Grape ID when she got in that car and got in the Uber car, if she had Grape ID, then she would have known in seconds that that was not her Uber driver, and it would have been prevented. And with coronavirus, with using Grape ID, we provide a way similar to what Apple and Google are doing. We provide a way to get complete control over your location data, to use that to stop the coronavirus by tracing where the coronavirus spreads. Professionals get the data they need to know where the coronavirus spreads, and you get the privacy you need because you are asked specifically, you get to authorize which entities get access to your data, and you know that they are legitimate and they know that you are legitimate. And the most important thing is that the information for everyone gets their privacy for tracking the coronavirus. Now, my main message right now is that it's a message of hope, that there are so many news articles and whatnot going on right now, about how the world is coming to an end. But my message is that of hope, that simply put, if we get our privacy, if we get control of our identity and secure our privacy, we can stop coronavirus like that. And it doesn't have to be that complicated. So what we are trying to do is literally in 4 weeks launch our Grape ID app. It's free for everyone to use to stop the coronavirus, and we're trying to launch it at the same time as Apple and Google. And it's not that Apple and Google cannot do what we're doing. They just haven't met us yet, because to them, we're, you know, puny guys. We are insignificant. But what we are doing is literally giving people control over not just your healthcare data, but it's a permanent solution to our privacy and many security problems that we face today. So if you feel like you are frustrated with giving out your information constantly, if you feel like you're frustrated with, you know, if you fear privacy and security issues, if you're frustrated with, you know, robocalls and usernames and passwords and having way too many and filling out forms constantly and just the utter chaos that currently exists in the world, Grape ID can help, because it provides you complete control over your identity. And in addition to my message of hope, my message is also that now is the time to take control. Now is the time to take command of your own identity, because only you have the ability to claim your identity and to take control and, you know, use it in a way that benefits you. Only you have that ability. As it goes, as I said before, I believe we have the right to control our identity. So it's upon us to actually claim that right. So ending my talk, we have the right to control our identity, and we can do it right now. You can go to robandersonshow.com and just sign up, and I will contact everyone and email you when the app is available for free, so that you can get control of your identity when it launches in 4 weeks. And again, that's robandersonshow.com. And so thank you very much for listening, and I look forward to working with every single one of you and hearing back how we can all get control of our identity to make our lives easier, safer, and to get our privacy, security, and convenience that we all deserve. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Robert. That's really interesting, because a lot of, you know, that's a critical issue for all of us, you know, theft ID, because nothing frustrates us further than for some hoodlum to, you know, ride on our good backs and take advantage of us and that sort of thing. And if I understood you correctly, you said Grape ID is free. Is that correct, sir?
It is.
Is that a free
yes.
app? Yeah. Okay, good.
Yes.
And I know you gave your website, and I was going to ask you about that, but also too, how can people get in touch with you if they have more, like, tell me more questions, or they want to know more about you? How can they get in touch with you by email, please?
Yes, my email, it's just rob, R-O-B, @grapeid.com. And those are grapes that you eat.
Yeah, grapeid.com.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, listen, thank you so much for sharing your message with us today. Really appreciate you being a part of the messages of inspiration, hope, and support. And we look forward to having your presentation
Jim.
there on our website there at speakerspathway.com. And before I bring Mr. Ron Fox on, I want to bring back Molly, if I may. Molly, I'm going to unmute you and put your video on. And let me let's see, cancel the spotlight there. Molly, I forgot to ask you when you were on, what is your web address and how can people get in touch with you to say, tell me more?
Oh, my email is Molly the Math Lady. So I'm now Molly the Math Rebel, but my email address is Molly the Math Lady, MOLLI, the Math Lady @gmail.com. And my website is still in progress. So that's going to be mollythemathrebel.com. So you can find me on Facebook or Instagram just by Googling Molly the Math Rebel. And remember, it's Molly, MOLLI. And then also you can buy my book on Amazon. It's called Beyond Math Anxiety. 99 insights, and a calculation's not one. So you can Google Molly the Math Rebel, or you can look for my book on Amazon. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. I apologize I didn't get that earlier, but I just wanted to bring you back and give you a chance for people to be able to get in touch with you, because that's very important. Thank you again, Molly.
Thank you.
And now it's time for me to bring a young man to the stage. Let me get Mr. Ron Fox, excuse me. And start his video and unmute him. And let's see here. Ron, are you there?
I am.
There he is. Let me give you the spotlight there. Hey,
Perfect.
you look good. They got your mic going and all that. And Ron, you're going to be talking to us about one of my favorite subjects, being a servant leader, leadership. And your topic's going to be on how leaning forward enhances relationships and it accomplishes so much more, or words to that effect. Am I close, sir?
Yes, it's that pretty much that envelops it. That's a good umbrella description.
Okay. Well, let me shut off my video and mute my mic. And sir, the stage is yours.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. I want to jump right in and talk about Robert Greenleaf, who actually coined the expression and the term servant leadership back in the 70s. So it's been around almost a half century. And if you go to their website, and I encourage you to do it if you just want to learn about it or learn more, they say that servant leadership is a philosophy and set of practices that enriches the lives of individuals, builds better organizations, and ultimately creates a more just and caring world. You know, most have an idea of what servant leadership is. And when you hear that definition, you go, oh yeah, I get that. You know, if you think about somebody in your present or past who inspired you through compassion and understanding, they were modeling tenets of servant leadership. There are a few individuals in my educational journey, as well as in both my career with Disney Parks and Live Entertainment and my film and TV industry career, as well as that of being an author and an audiobook narrator, that have been there. I have people in both my personal and professional life today who I consider friends that are also servant leaders. They're mentors. They're people I look up to. You can't ever have too many people like that in your world. What do these people have in common? They took the time to be there. They took the time to listen, to engage, and to encourage. So for you, if you're trying to figure out how exactly does this apply to me, or, hey, Ron, how can I be a servant leader? I'll tell you to start by thinking about how you word things. Verbiage is really important because it helps you to act. Now, I like to tell people, lean in instead of leaning on. You know, if you're at work and you're trying to get things done, if you've got reports, or now, of course, you're at home. If you're a teacher, you've got to manage your classes virtually through the cybersphere. And if you have kids, you got to make sure your kid or children are also learning. So how do you get that done? And you get it done through a process of engaging where you lean in. And let me give you an example through a story. I was part of the opening team for a stunt show at Disney's Hollywood Studios called Lights, Motors, Action. And, you know, there was few years into the show being open, a particularly rough day, and I decided after the show I needed to go refill my pixie dust bucket. And everybody out there that I'm talking to that hears this message, figure out what your reset button is so that you can go to it, you can hit it, and you can kind of start fresh. And my reset button was going to visit one man's dream. Now, those of you that are smiling and know what I'm talking about, you agree. And those that don't, I'll tell you, one man's dream was this lovely attraction at Disney's Hollywood Studios that was all about the things that Walt designed, built, planned, created, and teamed up to make happen. And you got to listen to him actually talk about these things. So you got these messages directly from the source, really inspirational. So I needed to go there. I needed to refill my pixie dust bucket because it had gotten dented and my pixie dust had turned into pixie rust, and that just wasn't good. I'm walking out and I walk by the marquee for the entrance to our show, and I see this family. And I can't help myself. I start to banana around, and I come back to them and, hey, can I help you? And they're like, yeah, we want to see the show. And I went, gosh, you're in luck. There's a show at 4:15. And I'm getting ready to walk away. And the lady goes, oh, it's not going to work. Is there another show? And I went, I'm afraid not. We just had a show, and our next show is going to be in about 4:15. So it's about 2 hours away. And she said, gosh, Christopher loves Herbie, and that's the whole reason we wanted to see the show. And I went, Christopher, and I look, and there's a little boy, and he's hiding behind his dad. And I said, are you Christopher? And he's got his hands on his dad's leg, and just kind of peeks around, and he looks up, and he nods at me. And at that moment, I thought, okay, what can I do? So I turn around, I walk into the green room, and I go and I talk to my boss, and I said, hey, Lloyd, there's a family out there, and they want to see Herbie. They can't stay for the show. They got to get to the airport. And he's like, yeah, sure, go ahead. And as I'm walking out, and what's key there is the relationship and the history that I had established with Lloyd meant that he trusted me. He trusted my judgment. He was one of those, and still is, one of those servant leaders that leans in and just says, keep me looped in, keep me engaged. And because of that, he's like, yep, I trust you. Take the ball and run with it. So as I'm walking out, one of the techs heard me. So he disappears in the opposite direction. And I go out, and there's the family. And I look down at little Christopher, and I went, hey, you'll never believe this. Went back there, saw Herbie. And he looked at me and he goes, are you kidding? I have been waiting for this kid. Will you bring him back here? So Christopher's got a big old smile on his face. And I walk the family around, and I walk them through the guest queue. And as we come around on stage, right there in front of one of the entrances, in front of one of the patios, is Herbie. And as we come around the corner in full view, Herbie starts rocking, and he's honking his horn, and he's making all sorts of racket. And before any of us could react to what was going on, Christopher broke into a run. He ran up to Herbie, and he hugged his wheel well. And that was one of those moments that completely and totally reminded me of why we do what we do, whether it's at Disney, whether it's with the people we love or care for or educate. They were there about 5 minutes, took some photos, and off they went. And that was it. I never made it to one man's dream that day because I had filled my pixie dust bucket. But I got to tell you, about 3 weeks later, I got a letter, came through guest relations. And in the letter, it had a picture of a motorcycle jumping Herbie. And it said, Dear Ron, thank you. Lights, Motors, Action was my most favorite show and my most favorite thing at Disney. Now, it's important to know that they were there for about a week, and they didn't even see the show. They were there with Herbie for about 5 minutes. But that's the kind of impact you can have when you lean in, when you engage. And to that point, especially now, all of us kind of on lockdown, this self-imposed stay into your cave until it's safe to come out. It's a good time to check in, all right? Check in, don't check up. It's always nice when people hear that you're checking in on them. Hey, I want to see how you're doing. Pick up a phone, make a phone call, set up a Zoom conference. If you miss a group of people, maybe a group of coworkers, set up a big, huge Zoom get together for family. Got to participate in a huge Passover Seder that involved 4 generations of family. Would never have happened in real life. It was impossible. These people were all over the world. So a great opportunity to check in. A real quick story there is when I was doing the stunt show, I had a cast member come over to me. He was part of the college program, and he just wanted to talk to me about my career, how I'd gotten into stunts and acting. And we talked for a couple hours. And I said, you have to figure out the thing that brings you joy. If you figure out the thing that brings you joy, you identify the thing that makes you happy. Don't worry about the money. The money comes. You've got to find the thing that makes you whole, that brings you joy. He reached out to me after I sent him an email not too long ago. He said, hey, Bradley, checking in. Now, it turned out he'd completely changed his major, changed his direction, happier than he's ever been. He is engaged to the co-star of one of his productions that he did. It was Hello, Dolly. And he's going to get his equity card. He's going to become a member of the Theater Union Actors Equity. The guy is so excited and so proud. And me, all I did was have a conversation with him. So it's really important to think about what your impact is on other people and how you can make a difference, because you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. A thing that is really important to me, and it's really important to people who engage in servant leadership, is to mean what you say and stand behind what you ask. People who know me know that if we're walking down the street as a group and someone approaches us and they say to me, "Hey, how you doing?" I will stop. I will turn. I go, "Gosh, actually I'm doing really awesome. I'm hanging out with all these beautiful people. We had coffee this morning. We ate at that pancake place. Dude, chocolate chip pancakes are the best." There have been times where people will stop and they will just listen to me and they're like, "All right." Now, a lot of times they just keep walking because they didn't mean it. You have a chance to mean it. When you're talking to your peers, when you're talking to your family, you're talking to your friends, you're talking to your work colleagues, especially now. There are so many ways that we can stay in touch with each other. It is inexcusable. Make it a point to reach out and check on people, because you have no idea what kind of a difference you're going to make. My first leadership opportunity also came at Disney's Hollywood Studios, where I was part of the PhotoPass team, and really passionate about what I did, very passionate about what we did and the product we provided. And there was one particular cast member who I kept running into, and I kept asking her how she was doing, and she was like, "Fine." I was like, "Okay." I happened to bump into her one day backstage by the bungalows, and I said, "Angela, how you doing?" And I just looked at her. I didn't say a word. And she went, it was like I popped a balloon in a good way, because man, she downloaded on me all of the things that were frustrating her, challenges with work, some things going on at home, career challenges, what should be my next steps, where do I go, how do I do all this? And you know what, no matter what else was going on at that moment in time, I made sure she understood she was the only person that mattered. My phone was vibrating, it was ringing, people are trying to text me. Whatever's going on is not more important than this person I'm talking to right now. That was probably 5 or 6 years ago. We had that conversation. You know, Angie and I still keep in touch, and she'll reach out to me every so often. Really, truly warms me to know not just that I had that impact, but that she felt so strongly about my words and my insight that she keeps coming back to me. You know, she is now a leader in a company in another part of the country, but she's constantly reaching out to me for insight and feedback, and I will happily give it. And you can do the same thing. It is never too late to build those relationships. So think about that. Think about how you can make a difference. Find the intersection for your passion, whatever that is, and let those things drive you. They will drive your positivity. They will drive your creativity. They will make you realize and become the best version of who you are. Servant leadership is about caring and compassion. It is about making the world a better place. And you do that, you start by making your world a better place. That's where we all start, right? When the person is whole, their world is whole. That's how it works. So my frequent question, and it's an important thing that you can ask yourself, is how are you? And what can I do to make your world a better place? Those that have gone through improv training are familiar with something called yes and. Everything is continued with a positive. You don't end an improv thing by going no, or you kind of put the brakes on it when you do that. But if you go yes and, now you've given people the opportunity to continue that narrative. And you can be part of that narrative. You can keep it positive by making sure they understand how engaged you are. That is the kind of thing that allows us all to be the best version of ourselves, and also help other people realize what it takes for them to be the best version of themselves. It's not a whole lot. It doesn't require a lot of push. You know, I got a dear friend out there who I absolutely adore, and she is a dissertation away from her doctorate. And you better believe that I've let her know I'm there for her. Other people are there for her, that we are encouraging her. There are people there that sometimes all they need is the awareness that they're empowered to do the right things, to make the right decisions, that if they stumble, we're there. That's the best thing you can do. So for you, I'll say, let your call of action be that you identify the traits that resonate and incorporate them into your world. Seriously, there is no time like the present, right? Everything that's going on, man, this is your opportunity to make a difference, and that difference could not possibly be greater. Our role as servant leaders are to make the world a better place by showing those we interact with how to find the confidence and courage to move forward with goals and objectives. Make those goals and objectives their own. This is never out of vogue. It's never out of style, and it couldn't be more relevant than right now. If you've got questions, if you've got thoughts, if something occurred to you at 2 a.m, please feel free to reach out to me. You can contact me either by going to my website, ronfoxmedia.com, or you can email me at ronfoxmedia@gmail.com. I'm happy to talk about this. As Jim said, it's a thing he's passionate about, and I really am as well. I think it's exactly the kind of thing that we need to move our message forward, to continue our narrative. And if we all do that, we definitely make the world a better place. Thanks again. Thanks for watching on whatever your favorite medium is. We appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. I want to extend a thank you to Don and to Jim for making this happen, and a special thank you to Dr. Soni for introducing me to this spectacular platform and some truly incredible people. To everybody else out there, hey, check in on someone, all right? And while you're at it, make it a great day. Thank you.
Wow, Ron, thank you so very much for that wonderful presentation. I really resonated with it because being a good servant is what it's all about. And I looked up Robert Greenleaf, and I really love the question that he asked. He says, you know, like he said, those that you're serving, I'm paraphrasing this a little bit, are they growing as a person?
Right.
Are they becoming more healthy or more
Right.
wiser? And the last part of that question, he talks about, are they becoming more freer and that sort of thing, but are they likely themselves to become servants?
Right.
Because
Exactly.
that's the avenue we should all work in, because that's what we do here at speakerspathway.com. We're all about serving people and helping people. And that's why we give all our free complimentary gifts and that sort of thing. And I love your message about reaching out to people, because even though a lot of us were under house arrest, as I call it, but we should never be in solitary confinement. But there's some people out there that's in solitary confinement. We need to reach out to them and say, hey, how you doing?
Sure.
Send them a text, call them, whatever. Send them an email. Just say I was thinking of you. I hope you're doing fine, and whatever, because, I tell people all the time, Ron, I think you'll appreciate this. Look at your thumbprint. Everyone knows that your thumbprint, that's how special you are. No one else has it.
No.
Your mission in life is, how can you reach out and leave your imprint on someone else? And just like Mr. Greenleaf, to help them grow and help them become wiser and healthier and freer. And most importantly, encourage them to be a servant to pay it forward.
I agree.
That's what it's about. And ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Ron Fox and Molly and Robert Anderson, they will all be on our speakerspathway.com website. You can download under the messages of inspiration, hope, and support. It's right on the front page. You can download their individual presentations. We get them uploaded as quick as we can. And it tells a little bit about them. So please share all of these very wonderful messages we've had today with others. Most importantly, love yourself first, then you can love others and pass that love forward.
Yes.
Ron, thank you again. Please give your email address and your website one more time, sir, before we sign off.
Happy to do it. Everybody, you can go to my website, learn more about me, or contact me. That is ronfoxmedia.com. Want to drop me an email for any reason, ronfoxmedia@gmail.com. Thank you. Thank you again.
Thank you, Ron. Appreciate it. Be sure and get in touch with Ron and just say, hey, I really appreciate your presentation and thank you for those words of wisdom and encouragement. Ron and to Robert and Molly, thank you so very much for being with us today on this particular episode of Messages of Inspiration, Hope, and Support. I'm Jim Grant. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a wonderful, blessed day and take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.